So today I'd like to talk to you about emotional understanding and how parents can help their young children get better at understanding their own feelings and feelings of other people. So I'd like to start off with a story. This actually comes from an experience I had with my youngest daughter when she was about 4. I was picking her up from daycare, and she got into the car. She was upset. She said she's really mad at her best friend. Best friend's name is Kaylee. She's really mad at Kaylee, and she's not going to play with her anymore. She's not going to be her friend anymore, and she's not going to invite her to a birthday party, which, if you have young children, you know is sort of the ultimate insult. She's very upset about it. So I said, well, gee, what happened? What happened at school? And she said, well, Kaylee has this new coat. It's pink. It has fur on it. It has a lot of sparkles. That's it? That's it? You're upset that Kaylee has a new coat? She said she's very mad. This is a great example, I think, when you have a young child who's got a strong feeling. And as a parent, you have to decide how you want to respond to that. I think one tempting response that often parents feel is to handle the behavioral side of the interchange. So one thing I could have done was to say, that's really silly, honey. You can't be mad at her about her having a new coat. You need to go back tomorrow. Tomorrow, just tell her you're sorry and tell her you're going to play with her again. That would be a very common sense clarification for her in terms of the behavior in this incident. However, it wouldn't be the best way to really help her understand the kind of feeling that she's experiencing. One of the things that young children have a lot of difficulty with, actually sometimes adults have difficulty with this, is telling the difference between their feelings and their behavior. And often with young children in particular, there's a pretty short leg between feeling something and acting. There's a lot of impulsivity. To help them begin to understand what the feeling side is about, it's important for caregivers to help them make that differentiation. And so one of the things that we'd ideally want to do before responding to a behavior in a situation like this is to focus on what were the feelings that were being generated. So let me tell you the end of that story, what I actually said. So she goes through the whole story, and I said, gosh, honey, I think maybe you weren't really feeling mad at Kaylee. I think what you were feeling was something that's called jealous. That's when somebody else has something and you really like it and you really want it, but they have it and it's not yours. Feels a lot like mad on the inside, but it's really different. Kaylee didn't do anything mean to you. You don't have to be angry at her. You can still be her friend. So I finished my little spiel, and she says to me, what? We went through the story, I probably did my explanation 2 more times before we got home. Then we got home and she went off to do whatever. So the next morning, we're getting in the car, getting ready to go back to daycare, and she said to me, Mom, what was that word? I think this is a good example of how having words that describe sort of nuanced emotion, that give children a chance to step back and think about the feeling that they had and begin to separate out some of the finer shades of feelings, helps them understand their internal world and the external world of feelings much more clearly. Oftentimes with young children, what we'll see is a sort of black and white. You know, they feel good or they feel bad. and they'll sort of lump together sad, mad, disappointed, all the sort of not good, uncomfortable feelings in one bucket. And that makes it very hard for them to both understand and manage those feelings. And it makes it hard for them to really get much clarity about how their social experiences are affecting their feelings. Feelings are really important. They play a very central role in the way human beings function. And they are like sort of triggers. When you have an uncomfortable feeling, it sort of triggers you to stop and think, oh, what's happening here? We want young children to be able to use their feelings in that way as sort of triggers that allow them to stop and then reflect on, wait a minute, what happened there, and what is this feeling I'm having, and why am I having that? As parents, you become really central figures in helping a young child make that kind of reflection. There's lots of ways you can help children make that reflection, develop a sort of vocabulary of different feelings, an awareness of the way different feelings look on people's faces, the way they feel inside, and the labels for them. So you can do that in the example of my daughter. When your child is expressing a feeling, you can respond and reflect and help clarify for them. You can do it when you're reading stories. Book reading is a fantastic time to do it because there are lots of characters, things are happening to them, they're having different feelings. You can talk about how the character looks, what feeling that might be, what happened that led them to feel that way. Has your child ever had that happen to them? Have they ever felt that way? Those are terrific discussions to have. You can do it by modeling feeling talk yourself. Young children in the preschool period are generally learning about what we call the core four, labels and separations for happy, sad, mad, and scared. But it's very age appropriate for them to also begin to get more nuanced feelings. So things like disappointed, frustrated, excited, bored, calm. These are all nuances that will help them better understand their experiences and better understand their social experiences. I want to end with just one more example. This is actually a story about my son. I think he was about 3 at the time, and he was a very active little guy, loved to play with cars and trucks, and he tended to have a very hard time at the end of the day when it was time to go to bed. So this was one night. I had given him a 5-minute warning. He was going to need to put his cars down and go up to bed. And it was time to go, and he was very upset. He's stomping up the stairs, and on the way up, he's yelling out, "You are not the boss of me. I am the boss of me." It was very cute at the time, but important not to laugh as a parent because clearly he's feeling very upset at this time. So again, one choice I would have as a parent is to respond to the behavior. Don't yell at me, etc. But in this case, his behavior is actually pretty good. I mean, he did leave the cars and he is heading to bed. He just can't quite manage to the strong feeling he's having. So that would be a case also where just reflecting the feeling. I know you're really disappointed that you can't play longer. I know you're angry at me that I said it's time to go up. But I really appreciate your heading up the stairs. And when you get up there, you can pick the book that you want to read. You're reflecting the feeling, you're giving him some understanding. You're still also maintaining your behavioral expectations. So it's not like you're always going to do what makes them happy, but just that recognition, and then again, the distinction from the behavior. That's what you're aiming for.